Hello, Satyr. Yeah, playing some more Hi-Fi Rush. Not quite sure if I wanna continue this series, I guess, or like I don't know how long. Bleh. I don't know if I wanna like finish the game on stream or not, because part of me feels like I can do it off stream. I think that's a lot of fun. But also, I think it's fine if I do it on stream as well. I hope my mic sounds okay. Come back to your save file will always return you to the hideout. Use this opportunity to stock up anything you may need. Continue where you left off by accessing your checkpoint data so far.
I bet if you could talk, you'd say I looked pretty cool back there.
That's fine. Yeah. Because I did think about story games.
Wonder if Peppermint's doing the I'm being nice to you but secretly pissed at you thing.
The thing about
Wait,
story games.
Second thought, I want to get prepped.
Sometimes I'm like, no, this is a lot more fun if I enjoy it on my own. But at the same time, it's mostly because I don't know, would watch me play time. I know people will still watch in a sense, you know, but I feel like it's much more engaging if I just do art streams and whatnot. This is training room.
Might want to give some of your new moves a run through.
Wait, what?
Just kidding. I can set up a training room for you to practice. Let me know when you're ready to wow me with something cool.
Oh, okay. I love this game. Hi, Eru. Yeah, what is this button? AI. Oh. Spent almost an entire day just collecting stuff in Genshin. Oh, okay. How do you do? I'm doing alright.
What else do you want?
Gaming.
So you hacked into me with Project Armstrong. What did you, see in there? Is this another one of your you're so
Oops.
stupid chai digs?
As much as I enjoy those, no. There's no data collection in this code.
So, Vandalay doesn't care about me personally.
Unusual for a tech corporation. All this seems to do is input information.
This is all very suspicious. Right, Peppermint?
Yes, Chai, it is. Hence, why we need more information.
Okay.
Crazy to see all the Vandalay top brass in one place.
What?
Well,
I
she
forgot
was
it
partially
autos.
there.
And you sure made that known.
Had to let him know who was in charge.
Okay,
They
Chai.
are, Chai. Don't forget that. It's us versus the entire company now.
But they don't have us.
What? Look, we're outnumbered. Just don't forget that.
Mm-hmm. Totally outnumbered.
Really cool.
But
of
we're
you to,
awesome.
You know, hide the fact that you can teleport.
Well, while you were smashing up production, I was here working out how to do that.
So, how does it even work?
Like I said, it's complicated. Basically, whatever bond you created with 808 puts out a digital signal I can hijack.
So that means you can teleport me back here whenever you want.
You and 808 are the antenna, I just latch on. Doesn't work the other way around.
But what if I were to stand next to a wall?
Chai, just stop. Don't think too deeply about this.
Chai's getting smarter. Crazy. Who would have thought Chai's getting smarter? Alright, let's look at the shop. Let's see what we can buy. Like, I know we can buy parts. Right now we only have one chip, and that is fine. Don't have much special attack. I believe I do want the one with ooh. I want the one with, what's her name? Peppermint. Oh. But this one does a healing. Is it double rift? But that looks so sick. Like, look at that. Apple product give you more brain cells. Yeah. Oh, what's this? But landing a beat on combo. Oh. Hold RT. How do you do that? That looks sick, not gonna lie. Dude, the fucking animation in this is amazing. Just look at that. Let's go with the same one. She has a fucking cannon. Like, look at that. Wish that were me. I know I don't need to. Let's upgrade this. Because I can. Well, I can't upgrade anymore. So. Let's go to the training.
I
room.
want to give some of your new moves a run through. Don't want you to explode.
Wait, what?
Just kidding. I mean,
Still have not finished this game? Well, I'm gonna try and finish this game. Alright. How do you do it? Not this. Abilities. Partner attack. Landing a bit hit on a gun RT. Which one's RT again? This one. Oh, okay. Wait. I don't know how they do it. Okay, you know what? I'll figure it out eventually. Right? I'll figure it out eventually. Return to hideout. Let's go. I don't know how many stages there are. But we'll find out.
mission report. So according to the files I stole, Spectra is a multifaceted cognitive AI algorithm.
I see.
You know what? Let's keep tech talk to a minimum. Anyway, Spectra is an AI, and AI development happens in the R&D branch. And the R&D branch is deep below the island, using magma as a natural power source for development experiments.
Can't do that.
Not good.
Actually, it is. Being underground lets us potentially avoid security. Plus, the lava is actually a natural and environmentally friendly source of energy.
Okay,
Oh,
sure.
that's
Anyway,
actually interesting.
Who's this guy?
That's the head of R&D, Zonzo.
Oh my
He runs the
fucking
whole
god, it's a
branch of the
JoJo
AI
reference.
labs.
Which means I'll probably run into him. He looks insane.
Reviews from workers aren't too hot on this guy. He's a perfectionist. Scrap and build until it's right. You build it, he scraps it.
Creator complex. But that hair.
Neural interface. His ideas are everything, so he modded himself to directly input his concepts into the work pipeline. Anyway, we sneak in, hack his computer,
That's crazy.
download and destroy Spectra, and get out.
Easy. Just get in, get the info, and get out. Yes, that.
Jai, get there yet?
Ow.
Ow.
Yeah, I think I found it.
Silly goose. heat wave, get it? Because they're in a lava stage.
I probably don't need to tell you this, but don't step in the lava.
Ugh, give me some credit here.
Didn't want to take any chances.
I mean, wait. Can we actually... I do wonder, like...
We're on the lookout for any suspicious individuals. Human, messy hair. No need to panic, but if encountered, please run away and contact security.
Oh, convenient.
They've been planning some R&D expansion in that area. Should be your ticket in.
Yeah, as long as I don't melt first.
What does R&D mean? You know, I know lava is hot and all, but like, if you stand like really near them, like this close, like how hot is it? I'm actually like wondering. Ow. I mean, like, you probably still be survive, you know, but it's just gonna be extremely hot. Oh. Has a sword. Can you hold that sword?
You'll not bother my crew.
No. But I'll be a great addition. Never mind.
More of them?
More of them.
Peppermint, come on!
Come on!
Let's do the air one first. Ah, sick. Look at that. Research and development. Assist. I wonder if I can get around that. Oh, I can. Convenient. R&D. What does R&D mean? I actually do not know. Cerberus robot log day 1. 9/3. 9/3. There we go, first day in the game. I may be a service robot, but by the end of this, I'll be calling the shots. Sure, they have me posting errors around the construction site, but hey, people need to know where to go. First, I show them where to go. Next thing, I'm telling them where to go. Just wish the rock area was a bit more stable. Oh, I want to grab these. Gears. Yum 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 yum. Okay, apparently you can't really break the rocks or crystal, I may say. So I'll just like.
Looks like some explosives set to clear the rock formations.
R&D means research and development. Okay, you know what? That makes a lot more sense. I need to be +2 meters away from lava so you don't get burned. Ah, see? Okay.
Peppermint!
Yeah!
Come on, Peppermint, shoot.
Peppermint!
What?
Your turn!
Need help?
Come on, I know you're supposed to shoot this, right? Or no? I was just not close enough. That's actually stupid. Oh. I didn't know there was a gap. What's up with that? You know what would be cool if I do like a cover? Cover of the soundtracks? How though? You know what? I know I've been talking about wanting to pick up Focus Circuit. Pick up like Oh, okay. I was supposed to wait. Didn't dawn on me. Pick up like playing guitar. It's like oh, more stuff behind here. Yum 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 yum. But like, I don't know when. I have to buy a guitar first, preferably a small one. I don't even know how to tune a guitar. I played a guitar before when I was younger, but yeah, that's pretty much it.
It's too hot. I can't do it. We aren't even programmed to feel the heat. Fix the generator. But I'm tired. Why do they always pair me up with you? I never get anything done.
So relatable. Wait, what's this? Oh, I forgot which one's my A button, sorry. You heard of Guilty Gear, Chasing Gear. Oh my god. You're not so talented. I'm talented? No, I don't think so, mate. I mean, I think the reason why I haven't bought the guitar is because it's not a priority right now. Ugh. Simple as that. I don't know what I want to buy as of now. But I do want... Ooh, what's this? I do want the second monitor. Oh, not a second monitor, sorry. A third monitor. But I don't have room for that, so...
Not much but rocks down here. But sometimes, you gotta break the tension.
Uh-huh. Oh. Just fishing, bro. You do you, buddy. I missed the timing on that. But the OST in this area is pretty sick. I'm biased. I like rock. I'm just gonna be honest.
Whew, you are missing this great view, Peppermint.
Wow,
I'll
look at
take
that.
my air conditioning. Thanks, though.
Oh god. Ugh, I keep getting hit. Okay, he did it. It's a B. Not too bad. Not too shabby. Bro, this area would make me melt. I thought the ice kind? Well, you're literally standing next to lava, so I don't know. I don't know, man.
Shaking. Probably nothing to worry about.
What the fuck? It came out right... Should I wait for it? Or can I just go for it? Yeah, I can just go for it. Dude, the jumping in here is a bit awkward for me.
You did not mention volcanoes, Peppermint!
Usually that's implied when talking about magma.
Communication is important to a working relationship.
Well, next time, communicate to me when you're gonna mess up my plans again.
Well, you see... You guys should stop fighting, you know? Just get along, work it out. Clearly there's some work that has to be done, but...
Workplace safety is our top priority.
Workplace
This
safety.
volcano was deemed perfectly safe and harmless by the R&D investigation team.
It's very safe, completely safe. I am not worried of falling volcanoes on my head. Oh god, that's not what I meant to do. I'm just trying to get everything over here. Dude, you hear the fucking bass on this? Crazy. Like, ah, sick. I hear it. Oh no, it stopped. Cause cause I went up here. Okay. Oh. Oh, I missed that. Why did I do that? The girls are fighting. Could you up the music a bit? Yeah, sure, I can do that. I can just do this. Give me a second. Oh my god.
Need help?
I think I need to destroy that. Come at me. Come get me.
I look so cool doing this.
Didn't change the fact that you're a nerd. Oh. I need to destroy this.
Government, come on!
Try this out.
Bang, bang, bang. Bang, bang. Oh. Hi, Sean. I'm doing alright. Just playing video games. How you doing, man? It's really cool to touch the levels out to dance to the beat. Yeah. Sounds pretty... Oh. Oh. I thought I could get that, but I'm guessing not. Oh, let's go. Boom, bang. Ooh, a chip. Chip parts. I can use it for upgrade. Came to say hello. Oh, hello. Very nice of you to stop by, and I appreciate that very much. Oops, I did not meant to do that. Wait, I'm trying to beat this up so I can get more bonuses. Okay, there we go. Yum 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 yum. Yum 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 yum. Alrighty, server slot part 2. Maybe a bit over my head here. Got a lot of arrows, and I mean a lot. Actually, don't know what to do with all of them. Way more than I needed, but I won't let them go to waste. What's easier to understand where to go, 1 arrow or 10 arrows? I already overheard my work being noticed. Lots of arrows around here. Yep, that's me. And you know what? I bet that guy ain't lost. Word spreading, and soon enough, I'm at the top. Okay, TI. This guy is just putting arrows everywhere.
Don't you think we have enough signs?
Of course not. What if I get lost?
There's arrows everywhere. Why not just make an easy to understand route?
Gotta question everything, you programmers. That's why you got transferred.
What the fuck? This game looks really cool. Yeah, this game's actually really cool. Thank you.
Government! Your turn!
Why does this look breakable? Something about that wall. Yeah, look. Like other walls, you go through it, but you just kind of like
Try this out!
bounces you back. Game design joke. Oh, the arrows? Yeah.
Peppermint, come on!
Thank you, Peppermint. Very much appreciated. Ow. This is another arena where we have to fight. Oh, sick! I know the song, I know that everything goes to the beat, but like I always have to mention it. Ow, I missed my combo. What is it? That all? Probably gonna be
So
more, huh?
cool doing this.
Peace. Ah. Oh shit! I'm not focusing. That's way too many people. Whoa, he's on fire. Hey, we got an S. Look at that. We're still a Guitar Boys named after John Starbucks item. What? What are you talking about, bro? Oh, hey! Source level blood, day 1. 1330. Ew, placing arrow near volcano? Not safe. Let me tell you. But you know what's even worse? Getting lost. Not knowing where to go after you reach the volcano. And I'm not just doing service here. I'm basically running the place at this point. People look at the arrows with respect. find one person here that isn't amazed by the pure, brilliant subtlety of the placement of these things. The angle, the pivot, the subtle roll. It's just basically art at this point, and I can't see anyone filling these rope shoes. Obviously. Oop. I wanna go back to simple finds, not the triple bullshit. Buddy. Hey there, buddy. You're not safe.
3, 2, 1, go!
Oops. Awesome. What is this all for? All the arrows lead to a rail? You can't even use this. It's like I was put on this planet for someone else. Like these arrows weren't for me, but for some greater being. Those who come next. I slip on a loose rock. Ankle ball joint is messed up. This may be my last sign. Better make it count. This is my way out of here. Don't lose hope. Don't get too involved in the job. I already sensed it. My replacement. I'll be lost in time, forgotten, but I'll have shown the way. And that's what counts. Oh my god. Are you implying this robot fucking died? Bloody hell. Whee!
Terrible, Chai. Just get in there.
It is a terrible pun.
Since you continue to avoid my email, Sandro, I'm making this public. No more budget approvals until this defect fiasco is done with. Full stop. You dare interrupt my creative process, Roper? The gears are turning in my mind with passion. I don't care about passion. I care about profits. Ha! Spoken like a true money man. Enough! Just have security with their orders.
Upper management doesn't seem to get along.
When do they ever? Let's just keep focused.
Sounds so sore. Look, clowns, I don't care if the door isn't connected to anything yet. I want this setup to look perfect, so I installed this door ASAP. People, especially Kale, came to visit R&D, and the first thing they see is an unfinished entrance. What do they say about us? That we are half-baked? That we don't have a vision? You only get one first impression, or two, if my next idea pans out. So don't make me look bad. Okay, there's some stuff over here. Oh wow. Look at that. Get away. Ah, okay, that's what I get. Nothing much up here. I mean, at least I'd assume. And then we grab that. Chai is such a person that is safer in your walking into lava pit. Ah, yes. Ah, there's a lot of stuff here. Going. Would you guys, if you guys were a supervillain, would you have lava as like your decoration? Or like what kind of decorations would you put your lair? Put in your lair. Put in your evil lair. To be precise. You know? I've seen people with like aquariums, which is pretty cool. Let's go. We just started beating that guy's face because it gave back money. Ooh. Okay,
More
now
of these than I thought. Wonder if I can find all.
maybe we can. Another purple and deep water. No, my decor would be quite comfy. A cute little coffee shop. Got a plot comfortability. And a pet shark. I mean, aquarium is pretty cool. Comfort, making your enemies comfortable. Well, that's crazy. It's also because I can also do that, you know. You know what I'm saying? What if I'm secretly a supervillain? You guys don't even know it. Falling into my trap, as they say.
Just get those security tests done, now!
Transferring magma power to Lab 44. Access to AI labs restricted until testing complete.
Oh.
Wait, I need to get to those AI labs.
I just told you. No access until testing is done.
And when will testing be done?
I don't know. Do I look like I work here?
Yes.
Actually.
Look, I don't run the tests. Run up to Lab 44 and complain to them.
Okay, lady at the counter. Any other way in?
I can see the entrance to the AI labs right behind you. Can't you know, sneak me in? Knowing you did this guy here a huge
For me, that's unquantified.
Chai, those models are known to be stubborn. I don't think she's gonna give.
Thanks for being.
You're welcome. If you need any more assistance, please feel free to ask.
What do you do? Well, I like how you can just ask
Sitting
them
around here all
questions.
day?
I greet and
That's debatable.
no.
Well,
I acknowledged your existence. In this day and age, that's as good as you're gonna get.
Noticed you have the old.
Yeah.
Should I know what that means?
Sigh. Before Kale. Before everything changed around here. Back when we were responsible developers.
Meaning?
Clearly me hinting at my disappointment in the current management isn't clear enough for you. That's admitting defeat. I'll just keep hating this job until then.
Understandable. Have a good day. Even the robots hate their jobs, man. Self-therapy journal. What a fantastic promotion. They put me as a greeter. Like anyone is even going to visit this place. Not only that, they want me to push sales of these Zanzo plushies. Even these things are low quality garbage. Not that we wouldn't have gone with this route anyway, but if Roxanne was still here, these plushies would be top quality goods, and probably be free. My self-therapy AI is telling me to stay positive, but even I'm not done enough to believe that. We're pretty much doomed unless some ragtag group of weirdos decided to take the company head on, or we get bought out. I'll place my bets on the latter. Okay. Okay, so that's the robot's diary. Apparently there's someone else.
You didn't even recognize me.
Why are you upset? We are supposed to sneak in.
I just thought I was, you know, famous.
You're
So
no.
humble. I'm sure your fans are all in Lab 44, so why not head there?
Chai, please. Focus. Even robots need therapy? Yeah. So that's what I'm saying, bro. Why that? What chips do I even have installed? I have no clue. Do I care? Ding, 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 ding.
Alright, design and prototype constructed to spec.
Yawn. Looks like a volunteer has entered the lab.
Oh, about time. Test volunteer, please enter the chamber. With haste!
Okay. Barrier technology. There's successfully enhanced barriers to resist friendly fires, attacks, rains, and occasional oil accident comets. And thus there is an off feature on personal barriers, thus prohibiting barrier type. Okay. I'm not gonna read
Zanzo
that.
isn't letting me go home until I fix this bug causing the barriers to overload. But I shouldn't be complaining. At least I'm not getting shot at to test my results.
Well, yeah, I guess so. You're not getting shot at, so. Punch to face test continues to be effective in proving SPR units can be successfully get punched in the face. Being the first test we've ever commissioned, I find it strange we have it running on loops this long. We aren't learning anything new here. The strategic part of this circuitry was to strike the last comment from the record. Watching this thing fly is hilarious, and any visitor in the lab seems to love it. We need more data. Let's continue the test.
Why do I get the impossible tasks? Toughening up the Saber units? That'll happen. Well, at least watching it fail is enjoyable.
And look where we are. Forspoken. Oh. Can I sprint? I'm assuming not. Oh, hey. I'll take that. I do. Ooh. You know what? Loki reminds me. Stream died. Did it die? Did it die?
Oh, you must be the test subject Mr. Zanzo mentioned. Please proceed. And don't worry, all insurance paperwork will be handled after the tests.
Okay. Sure. Let's go with that.
Test subject unidentified. Why is the image scrambled? Something's overriding our cameras to 40p. It's unviewable.
40p.
Ah, just get this over with. Activate the security lasers.
Uh-oh.
Oh, great.
Just call me in. I can help you.
No, wait. I got an idea.
You do?
Hey, it's been a while, but Chai's back with something new. The parry.
Exactly.
If you parry exactly at the time of an enemy's attack, you can knock the energy back at him.
Oh.
Stay on beat, and I don't need to run.
You said it best. How about we give it a try?
Okay, how?
Look at this little guy. Don't worry. He'll tell you how many times he's gonna hit you. First we'll see and hear the timing. Then it's your turn to parry it back. Here's how it should go. Now you give it a try.
Bring it on.
Not bad, but you're gonna want to master this to stay on top. All right, how about we get back to it?
Oh god.
Chai, did you just black out?
Maybe, I don't know. It doesn't matter. Watch this.
Accuracy test initialized. It exploded. That's not the design. I added it in. Failure is so embarrassing it self-destructs. Try again.
Just had a little hiccup. Ah, okay. Alright, I just need to
okay?
stay in bid.
Getting the hang of this.
2. Oh, I missed that.
My accuracy code is flawless. Apparently not. Hey, subject, well done. Your gift basket is in the next room.
Sounds like a trap.
But what if it really is a gift basket?
Oh, hey.
Another day, another mess that needs to be cleaned up. The cost of progress, it looks like. This is gonna be bad for morale. Can't see anybody liking this. Surprised no one put a claim in, but I need to take this to the top. We need bigger disposal chutes. These get clogged too easily. Someone might trip on these things, get hurt, can almost see the lawsuit.
There is so much oil.
You're damn right. And all this oil means one slippery slope. But I'll get on top of this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure you will, buddy. I miss Evil Within. I've never played with Evil
Fix
Within.
the image! I want to see who our test subject is. I'm locked down! It's a hack! So unhack it!
Peppermint? Is that you?
For once, I'm not hacking anything.
Oh, interesting. A new crew member? Like, in Among Us? Just kidding. Alright, buddy.
If Zanzo catches us downing anything other than his energy drink, he goes ballistic. I'm not about to get yelled at on my one breaking move.
Hold on. Oh, come on. There we go, it's broken now. All the cans are out.
Oh, hello there. Did they tell you I would handle your insurance forms? I'm just getting them ready. Please return after finishing the second test.
Yeah, sure, lady.
Oh, wow. It's finally my chance. My time to shine. I wonder what they have in store for me this time.
Oh, it's you. Fine. What do you got to offer?
Hello there, friend. They want me in the training room soon. I'm so excited.
If I were you...
Nonsense. But anyway,
Oh, yeah.
this is where things get parrying is key for staying on the edge of battle. You'll be able to knock back attacks and push your rhythm gauge higher while staying on the attack. But a parry has very strict timing. You'll really have to press the button on the beat for it to work.
I may need some practice.
If you had a training room in a hideout, but don't...
Please! Step
Okay,
into
it's...
the center of the room for you.
That Roland looks like Mr. Roland. I don't know who that is. Very funny, Mr. Looker. What am I supposed to do?
Oh, man, they fell for it! This subject is an idiot.
Very perceptive, Zanzo.
Those laser drones were Corsica's design, but no one messes with my experiments. You'll be a nice punching bag for my babies.
Okay. Oh.
Regular enemies won't visualize their attacks, but they can all be parried. Just parry exactly when their attack strikes.
I wonder if I can do that.
Ah, got you.
Okay.
Just as planned.
Okay. Just give me a moment.
Effective. Blow these up and send more in.
Oh. Oh.
Some attacks hit multiple times. You'll need to parry all of them to succeed.
What the fuck? Okay.
Such perfection of design. That sounded like it hurt.
Oh no, I have to do it from the beginning. Oh god, I'm gonna die. Dude, that's hard. What? Hold on. Give me a second. Continue. Please don't tell me I have to start from the beginning. Okay, no.
Please, step into the center of the room for your prize.
It's safe here. Oh, I just realized the text.
And they fell for it. This subject is an idiot.
Okay.
Very perceptive, Zanzo.
Those laser drones were Corsica's design, but no one messes with my
You know, like,
experiments.
a neat,
You'll be
like,
a nice punching bag for my baby.
detail is, like, he snaps his fingers.
Regular enemies won't...
Alright.
Ah, got you.
Roll.
Effective. and send more in.
Oh, this game is telling me to just parry. Okay.
Nice, Chai.
Okay, there we go.
I'm actually impressed. Now, I want to see how far this goes.
Me too. I'm just gonna beat your ass. It happens. Anything up here? Not just. Alright, okay.
Hacks everywhere! It won't let me open the door! Maybe we should find this hacker and give them your job.
Chai? A private mail just came to me. Use the side route?
Side route? Oh.
What is going on here?
For the first time, I'm as confused as you.
Ooh. Whoa. Okay. Battery. What's in here? I'm curious. Hello. Yum 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 yum. Ah, it was a side that we saw earlier. Burial umbrella. Okay, I'm not gonna.
They sent me here to fix this mess. Look at it.
I'm.
Oh, what? Are you? It has been quite a while since.
Anyone in Tabor? Oh, that's interesting. That means most people have died.
You've done well when focusing. But how about a real throwdown?
Ooh, okay.
This is all pretty expensive, Sir Dewey.
Yes.
I want this, so do it!
Yes. Okay.
Compliment! Your turn!
Security lasers here!
Oh, what? Oh, what's wrong with the camera? Hello? Okay. Because I'm better.
Changing what you want. Enough questions. More enemies. Actually, you're not enemies. You're more time. Shut up!
Oh god. Oh god, boy. Okay, this is a bit difficult than I expected. Alright, I think we can do it. Just had a bit of a hiccup for there.
You've done well when focusing. But how about a real throwdown? This is all pretty expensive, Sir Dewey. I want this, so do it!
I got this.
Peppermint, come on!
Light 'em up!
Peppermint!
I forgot.
Remove those security lasers here!
Okay.
Because you keep changing what you want. Enough questions. More enemies. Actually, they're not enemies, but they're on Mars time. Shut up!
Let's go!
Oh god. There's a lot of things here. Oh, fucking hell.
Need help? Try this out.
Oh, they do it twice.
Let's go.
Okay, there we go. I got that. I got it. I got it. Not again. Oh god.
We haven't done field testing. This is the test.
Oh god. What is this? What am I doing? What is that? Can I survive this? I sort of got if I die to this. Like, I think this is the last one, and then if I die to this, I'm gonna be really upset.
And it's hiding a little secret.
Somebody else will have stronger stun gauge.
Light 'em up. Need help?
Didn't my inner voice tell me about this?
No, I haven't yet.
Go on.
Enraged
Okay.
enemies will pull you into an attack that can only be parried. Look for the
Oh.
timing and parry back for a chance to take them out in one hit.
Oh. Okay. Cool.
Go get it, guys.
do I do? What do I press? What do I press after that? Hold on. Okay. Like I'm genuinely serious. Don't know. This is a combo finisher. Do I just press B again? Or do I have to go in and like... I'm confused, I'm lost, I'm just gonna be real with you. Well, what do I press? Attack, it's an attack button? I press an attack button, it didn't work. Do I have to get thrown? Or did I do it too early? Oh my god, I think I did it too early. I think I did it too early, that's what I'm doing. So I have to get thrown back every time. Okay, there we go. Oh, this is really bad on the timing. Holy heck.
Alright, enough testing. You've earned my respect, whoever you are. We actually got some good data. Is that all you programmers care about? Let's go. We're done here.
Well, I don't know how, but you survived that.
If this doesn't get me in the lab, I'm quitting.
Yeah, but I'm still wondering, who was helping us out with all that hacking back there?
I didn't feel like help. More like someone was just messing with Zanzo.
Wow. Someone survived. What? I can't even remember how long I've been waiting. Well, at least I can take a break now.
Yes, you can. Let's go. It'd be funny if it was the secretary in the front that was just helping us. Where are we supposed to go? I'm assuming to the left. But I want to see if there's anything here. Not necessarily. Oh, this guy's dead. Let's type assistant mail. Email return sender. Let's help. Emailing on behalf of the unit has completed the test protocol. I seem to be the only one here, and dare I say, unanticipated. There are no signs of any robot coming this in a long time, and the door in the next area doesn't open. I locked up the floor plans, and it's like there's nothing behind the wall. Where am I supposed to go? I'll wait until hopefully the next tech subject arrives to continue speculating on the situation. Please reply with advice. Well, this guy's died. And very unfortunate.
So that's Zanzo, huh? Sure is something.
Yeah. He got promoted to head of R&D after Kale took over the company.
Doesn't quite echo the Vandelay image I've had up till now.
The company switched gears under him, going from helping the world to protecting their bottom line.
That's usually what happens. Well, I'm assuming we're supposed to go to the right, but yeah. So I drink my water. Actually, no, we're not supposed to go left or right. Okay.
So this was our pesky test subject. Mr. Chai, was it? That's
Oh my fucking
Mr.
god, that is a
Chai.
yo-yo reference.
That's what I just called you.
Okay then!
It's Daryl. He's a fucking
Yeah,
idiot.
I know. Zanzo, head of R&D. Look, dude, I'm not gonna serenade you.
They call you a defect, but I find your enhancements enticing. I must learn more about it.
We've tested enough, don't you think?
I saw your reflexes, but how about your endurance? Let's give it a go, go, go!
Oh my fucking god.
But enough talk. Have at you!
The animation is amazing. Look at that. Oh my god.
Go get him, Shy. Try this out.
How many Jojo runs can I finish in 15 seconds? Yes.
A bit quicker than expected, but no matter. How about a brand new Sanzo original? My new Z shielding! That's pending. Don't even you could put it into this.
I'm useless. You said it, dummy.
Can't even dig it! Try this out!
Come on.
Just as I expected. It's Harvey.
Wait, it's the same like how the door we saw earlier. How are you gonna do this?
Light him up.
Okay, it's part of the story. I have to hit it. Uh-oh. Come on, Chai. Beat him up. It's like it has a force field.
Chai, we need a different approach.
Wait, what? Oh?
What are you doing?
I'm gonna reason with it.
Huh?
Well,
Chai?
we had a good run.
Look, man, I think we have more in common than we do apart. How about...
Yep, okay. Sounds about right. Okay, Chai. You and your brilliant plan. Oh. Okay, he's still alive. Oh. Hmm? Oh.
I've been looking for you.
Holy crap!
No, no! I wanna know. Great transition with
Previously on Hi-Fi Rush.
How about...
Of course I replayed this.
I've been looking for you.
Holy crap!
Oh, sorry. Didn't mean to frighten you.
Yay, look.
goggles make you come on strong, sir.
Huh?
Your plans, young man, often seem to fail. Perhaps you lack the leadership qualities you think you have.
That's my buddy Cinnamon, a psych AI. Tells the truth no matter how much it hurts.
This is surprisingly entertaining.
Kai, don't be dead! Macaron, I presume?
Peppermint! Wonderful to finally meet you.
Oh,
in
this is the
person.
guy that helped us hack, most likely.
Sir Macaron said expressions make me less off-putting.
Oh my god, that's so cute. They just draw in their own expression.
What the hell is happening?
Oh my god,
Meet
poor
Macaron,
he-
my man on the inside.
Do you guys see that? He just
Was
waved
that
to
you
us.
hacking the test labs?
Just my way of showing who's boss.
But he works for Vandalay.
Yeah, used to be the head of R&D under Roxanne Vandelay. Then Kel brought in his crew and now there's Spectra.
A disgruntled employee.
But this place is my whole life. I wanted to do something. And I realized I can. From the inside.
I will say, you may have to do more than just pick on Zanzo.
Yeah, I mean, we already have our hacker.
I was thinking of a non-violent solution.
Oh.
Against those robots that just tried to kill me?
Oh.
Something big is going down, Macaron. We've got to be proactive.
But fighting isn't my style.
Then why do you have a punching bag?
Sometimes work gets a bit stressful, knowing who took everything from me.
You mean that guy?
Zonzo!
Okay. Maybe he
That
just
wall was made with Z shielding.
Oh no. Does that mean I have to fight?
I believe it does, sir.
Aw, the poor guy.
Hey Chai, before heading out, mind coming over here?
Yeah, sure. I'm guessing this guy just have his survival instinct kick in whenever he sees Hanzo. Which I think that's kind of funny if you think about it. Hello. Fuck. Oh, Uncle Norris, thank you for the follow. Why have you been
Okay,
here?
I want answers. I dodge volcanoes coming here, and you just waltz right in?
Waltz? I ran here. What? No, it was more,
So I'm assuming you were one step behind me because you...
No! I mean, not to that level, but it was good I was close by.
Oh, okay.
Let me guess. The insider you've been talking to this whole time is Macaron.
So you can put the pieces together.
Why wouldn't you just tell me?
Do I need to remind you?
Of...
You never listening to me? You telling the entire company heads our plans?
Those were slip-ups.
Uh-huh.
Well, I didn't need another one of those.
Fair point. Hello, Punten. Any language is okay? I mostly speak English, but yeah. Welcome. Hello. Macaron's such a softie. Yeah, he is a softie. I mostly speak English, but I can speak a bit of Indonesian. Fuck.
Honestly, I don't even know where to begin with you, psych robots?
Sir Macaron programmed me to analyze his creation since his exile from development. But my analysis leads me to a conclusion that he was merely lonely.
Macaron's a friendly guy. You'd think he'd be more popular around here.
Sir Macaron is shy, non-confrontational, and what I would categorize as a worrywart.
Aww.
Why not try helping him out?
Oh dear no. My job is to inform. It is for the individual to change.
That's true. Like Japs Jaxel.
So I gotta ask.
Yeah, more or less, Jaxel.
What does it stand for?
Oh, Mr. Chai, isn't it obvious?
Of course it is. I just want to confirm it with you.
I can see you truly have no idea. How sad. Sir Macaron designed me as a consciousness review allocation personnel. Hence, Cinnamon.
But that doesn't... Actually, it even...
No need to dwell on names.
Unfortunately, not all of us can have a very common and usual name like you, Mr. Chai.
Bruh. Okay. Hello.
Hey there, Chai. To be honest, I'm not sure I can be of much help.
What are you talking about? You can literally destroy what's holding us back.
Right, I know, but just give me some time to get used to it. But anyway, look at this. Those chip enhancements Peppermint made for you are pretty awesome.
Already? Is Tech Talk like your #1 priority?
Well, it is kind of my job, so maybe a little bit.
Okay, that makes sense.
Okay, alright.
So I was thinking, why not add a bit more punch to those chips? If you get what I'm saying. With some extra supplies, I can make them more effective.
Okay. More upgrades.
A higher level chip needs more
Okay,
energy,
okay. We
so
get
each
it.
level will take up another slot.
Let's see.
But once you level up a chip, you can switch back and forth to lower levels. Now you can customize as much as you'd like.
Wow, this is actually pretty cool and useful.
If I try mainly English, it's okay if I go full Indo? Yeah, it's fine. Nggak apa-apa kok kalau bahasa Indonesia. It's just just a heads up. Aku biasanya pakai bahasa Inggris saja. The vibe between those two is so different. Everyone was making fun of Forspoken for its dialogue, but then talking about this game to compare. I don't know anything about Forspoken, so I can't say
I'll take over all
much.
these upgrades for now. When you have materials, come and see me.
Will do.
Okay. Renometer combo holder. Carry charge. Carry health. There's a time enemy is shocked by Peppermint's partner. Any enemy effect gets stun gauge. I don't know what to buy. This one? Wait. Battery Magna Beam Rush. Peppermint Shock Adventure. Peppermint Shock Jump. Special attack. Oh, I have it equipped. Oh. Bill his over his emotional support friend. Yeah. Air parry. Ooh, I have more moves now. Bill counter. Oh my god. Dude, that is so cool. Intern with solo the second heavy. I mean just buy this because I can. Time to go again. Sorry nggak bisa lama soalnya harus tidur cepet. Ya nggak apa-apa. Sleep well, tidur yang nyenyak. Thank you. I wish I could build my own emotional robot friend. Me too. Me too. No. I don't know what I need. So you work here?
Alright, so fill me in.
Oh, you got it all wrong.
I'm not seeing.
If you've been here as long as I have, you'd remember. It was about doing things that made the...
Have you ever considered working for...
This place. Roxanne's legacy.
So, you...
Actually, this is the first time we've...
What?
In secret. Code names and stuff. just so there's no risk of...
But your code names are your actual names. Dude, she could have been a crazy internet stalker or something.
Oh, I never thought about that. I guess I was just happy someone wanted to help.
Oh my god.
Well, you got lucky this time, but next time I won't.
I won't be here to protect you. Yeah, sure, you can say that, Chai. Who needs emotional support when you have chat? Oh my god. Sorry, I sneeze.
All right, Peppermint.
It's true, I have
I'm
chat.
Mission report. Our goal, get back on track to entering the AI labs. The good news, Chai, is that Zanzo thinks you're dead.
Okay, stop showing me this.
Only thing slowing us down was Z-shielding.
And I can take care of that.
So I'll configure 808 to call Macaron in.
Call me in.
I'll explain later.
Oh, finally you are rebelling, sir. After all these years of inaction.
Thanks for the positive reinforcement, Cinnamon. Anyway, Macaron's
That's
lab
scary.
is just
Uh-huh,
below where
okay.
we were headed.
Let's
So
see.
let's
Thank
get
you,
back to
guys.
those
Thank
AI
you.
labs and destroy Spectra.
Simple enough.
Okay, we can do this. Bisa kok, bisa.
There's quick access back upstairs if you go down the hallway.
I heard a lot of banging and explosions from down there. Is that Mr. Macaron's office? Oh no, I hope he is okay.
He is okay. Dude, song rocks. Oh.
Peppermint, your turn.
Wait, how do I...
Okay, go straight through there.
There's just a wall.
808 firmware updated, and we should be good to go. Try calling in Macaron.
Ow.
You got this, Mac.
All right, let me give it a shot.
Switch it up.
Ready for this?
Here we go.
No problem, guy. Right, there we go.
Not bad, Macaron. First step into the wild.
Anything over here? Nope. Ding, ding, ding. I know this is an overload of projects. My suggestion? I will not read any of those.
Get him, Macaron.
Let me out there.
Macaron.
No problem, little guy.
Ding,
Okay, we're back at that giant drill thing.
We can see that. Now just climb it, and we're back where we were.
Your turn, Peppermint.
Salt?
Ah! Nope. Hey, just go over here.
Ooh, hey, Chai. It ain't Z-shielded, but I can knock that boulder out of the way for you.
Imagine it's one of Zanzo's security. Here we go.
Got him, Chai.
We're not close enough.
You got this, Mac.
Let me out there.
Switch it up.
Got eyes on her.
Sure. Right. This guy got hit. I should be annoyed at work in this lava pit. I mean, the fact that they have a drill even deeper into the lava and kept them running a facility crazy thing. But I shouldn't care to give me this cold drill. Reclaim audio, convert to text. Ah! Well, seems like the guy fell down.
So get this. I was looking through databases for information about Spectra, but Zanzo locked out all employees.
So who has access?
From what I could tell, only Kale and the other department heads.
Guess they're all in on this.
But wait, Corsica, the head of security, seems to have limited permission though.
Why wouldn't the head of security have full access?
Suspicious. Wait, are we supposed to go here? I mean, I think so.
All hands on deck! I have an idea that needs all the juice we've got. It doesn't fit in the schedule, so we're gonna have to crunch this one out.
Oh no, crunching. The worst thing you can ever do. Oh, we're back here. Huh. Okay. Alright, chat. I'm just like looking around. Because I think this is... I wanna like see what I can unlock. Also, I didn't know you can walk on these because there's glass on it. I thought you couldn't. Oh.
Up for another round?
Okay.
Alright, let me give it a shot. Call me in, and I'll shadow those shields for you. Gotta roll up my sleeves. Here we go. All eyes on it. Let me out.
Get him, Macaron.
Cold?
Ooh. Okay.
Really locked out of the pacifist route?
I'd probably say so.
Focus, everyone. Spectra Lab is close.
Why are you here?
Oh, hello there, Fred.
Smith.
Maybe, but some of his advice is...
Really?
Ah, that voice. That must be... I never knew Macaron to start a fight. But it looks like he's the only one who could take... Macaron's hits can really do some straight damage. Just be careful. He's quite a hefty fellow. And it might take longer than your other friend to call back, which might be a good time to switch to some other foreign existence to keep the...
I love this guy.
My time at Vandalay seems limited.
Well...
Should be in the next room.
It's locked. No Z-shielding either.
Pull a try.
Wow.
Find another way in. I'll be right back. Cinnamon is trying to give me a personality test.
Oh, okay.
We are labs. Close enough, right?
No. Not the same thing, Chai.
Switch it up! Here's the old one, too. Oh, wait now, Peppermint. Don't get mad.
Unsympathetic? Hot-headed? You don't even know me.
You are only proving me correct.
Come on, Chai. You can vouch for me, right?
I'm staying out of this.
That's funny. Am I supposed to go? Oh. Okay. There's some more stuff over here.
We're not supposed to question Zanzo, but that whole 8 days are even more suspicious. Why are there 4 Mondays in a row now?
4 Mondays in a row, bro. Akara is the kind of guy that played a Bastard Red in Undertale. I mean, yeah, definitely. Chai is the guy that would do the normal route. Where he accidentally kills a few people. Probably didn't mean to. I don't know what to do with chips, man. Like, I guess they're pretty cool. I can't buy any of these. Can I even change it? No, I cannot.
Alright. Wait a second. Chai, where are you?
Have you finished and I got to ask or started crying and stop. Eru, there's more after he cried. Actually, when I started playing, when I was playing Undertale. Oh, okay, you know, all right.
This cat's with me.
This is bad.
You somehow got past my powerful toys without letting me watch. Unforgivable. But luckily, my AR labs are perfect for recreating missed opportunities. Like this. Mandalay alternate reality recreation technology. But patent approved. So real, it hurts.
What the fuck?
It's like I'm really there.
I know. Awesome, right? Now, show me what I missed. Plus a little extra.
All of my space.
Turn the lights down.
What?
Mr. Zanzo, AR recreation like this is very expensive, and with our budget... Quiet, lackey. Just do it.
Let's go, baby. That's what I'm talking about.
The fort is becoming unstable. The simulation is degrading.
That's the projection lens. See if you can destroy it, Chai.
Okay, hold on. That's just because I know who I am. I can never trust.
That was a quarter of our budget. Pull in some money from the yearly bonuses then.
My bonus? No.
No. This bonus. I seen 5 Let's Play. Oh wow. Yeah, it's a ThinkPad. I just could not bring myself to continue because how special Undertale was for me at the time. Fair enough. I feel that just because I know how I am, I can never touch No Mercy route. I mean, I've done it. I did it. I did the pacifist route like 3 to 5 times, and then at that point I got bored, and then I just decided to do genocide route in Undertale. So yeah. Cause why not? I did it. Yeah, that's me. I did it. You see, the trick of it is just don't feel
That programmer was right. It looks like Zanzo's burning through his budget.
Zanzo's immature creative vision prevents him from seeing the realities of development.
We can use this. With no budget, our development pipeline comes to a full stop.
Chai, goad him into throwing something lavish at you.
Oh.
Check this. Now we can see Chai drain the budget in real time.
Okay. It's a video game after all. Yeah, true. Don't get me wrong, I do love Undertale. And the characters, I was extremely obsessed with Undertale. But yeah. But I have to. No, you don't. Dun, dun, dun. Is there anything down here? Oh, yes, there is. My intuition. Ah, I love it when I follow my intuition.
Try this out. Try this out.
Hello, battery.
Try this out.
Here's the old one too.
Macaroon, sock 'em.
No problem, little guy.
Dun, 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 dun. Let's see what we
Zanzo's
got.
making us work at 5x speed as opposed to our normal 3x. Let me tell you, 5 for 5 that kid.
Oh, I'm the kid.
I can barely stand. Why does Zanzo even want to catch this guy? With
Oh,
everyone
God.
working at this at once, this data is chaos!
Poor guys. I'm so sorry.
Turned off my leg power unit to focus all my CPU on my coding skills. I'm getting a lot done, but I'm not sure how I'm gonna make it back to my task.
Crawl, obviously. But the meta commentary is calling you out just because you wanted to see what else could happen. Well, you see, if you don't care, it doesn't
Got
matter.
something new for me?
You did so well in our training exercises. Let's see if we can fix it up a bit.
Intuition.
This again?
Not impressed? Well, I just might have to throw in some surprises. Send him in. He's not optimized. He'll slow down the simulation. I don't care what it costs. Get him running.
That's a huge dent. Wreck that budget, Chai.
Switch it up.
Light him up.
You got this, Mac.
Ready for this? Here's the old one too.
Oh god, okay.
This'll be easy.
God. Oh god, I wasn't focusing. Okay. Please put more dent.
Every programmer here and you can't keep it stable.
Oh god. Hold on.
How much this costing you, Zanzo? So, Zanzo, where's your epic set piece?
Oh guy. Why do I have that? Give me a second. Has this been running in the background this whole time? I think, yeah, nah. Nah. It was, I had a connection problem. I don't know. It was being unstable. But hello. Hi, Hamura. What's up?
Oh, you common folk don't understand quality. You just crave explosions. Well, if that's what you want.
Explosion.
We're gonna teach him a lesson.
Balancing creativity with realistic goals is the mark of a good leader. Clearly, Zanzo needs guidance.
He never understood Roxanne's vision for Vandelay. Just went along with Kale's demands as long as he got what he wanted.
That's not...
Glad I don't work here. He took my job, my life, and he's ruining the company's legacy.
Well, let's savor taking this guy down. Zanzo's lab is right behind the next AR room. Get ready for what's coming.
Beat him up. Let's go. We beat up the golden face. It seems to be fine now. Yeah, that's not what I meant to do. I meant to go here. Don't know why quality lag, but I have a feeling it might be fine for now. I missed the timing on that. Okay, these are breakable crates. Is there anything over here? I don't think so. Not that I know.
Switch it up! Here's the old one too.
Ding, 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 ding. Oh shit.
Try this out.
Cold?
Development mindful checklist. Remember when you are overworked or stress practice? Okay, I'm too lazy to read that. How disasters reacting to pain? Ah, yeah.
Seeing all of this
It's really
yelling and
good.
chaos makes me yearn for the old days of Mr. Macaron leading us. I hope he returns one day so I can once again do a great job for him.
Aw. Don't worry. We'll get it back. Just you wait. Oh fuck, I should have bought that. Oh well. I am silly like that.
All staff are on this, but the cost, are you sure? Am I sure? I know what I want, and I don't want to hear about costs. Just turn it on.
Okay, Zanzo. You're gonna get beaten up.
you?
Chai, this is amazing! Look at that budget drain!
Still want a gift basket?
You bet I do.
It's all yours.
It's like hardcore.
Psych! Gift basket! Also, whoa, I thought you would be bigger.
What? Oh, I'll show you. Let's see you earn that basket.
Oh god. Oh god.
Stay in it, Chai. Let's see Sanzo fly too close to the sun.
Dude, the song in this game is fucking amazing.
Let's go!
Okay, I got this. Don't worry about it.
Maybe this is more intimidating.
Oh, dude, the animation on that.
Volcano, right here.
There goes a chunk of money.
Ooh, we're stuck over here. Yoink. Oh god. Okay. Got this. Dude, the song fucking rocks. I love it.
Programmers, where are my enemies? Give us more notice. I don't decide when inspiration hits me. It's on my level.
Try this out.
It's kinda hard to hit. Oh my god. Oh my god. This is so annoying.
Light him up.
Oh, okay. We got this. Too zesty for his own good.
Barrier code crashed.
Mr. Chive, go get your gift basket.
My gift basket.
Peppermint, come on!
Let's go!
Yes, please.
Get him, Macaron!
Here's the old one, too.
I'll grab these first. Okay. Oh. We did.
I've got it. 2 volcanoes.
Uh.
Circuits flaring up.
Dude, I love how the volcano just goes on read. I fucking messed that up. I know everything goes on beat, but I'm just saying it sounds so good to the ear. Did she even shoot that?
Need help?
Quality and quantity.
Okay.
I want this.
Bigger. Oh, okay.
Can't keep this up.
You know, size don't always matter. Oh god. That's pretty big explosion there. That exploded. Lava. Whatever.
Here I come, gift basket!
Can do it. Can get the gift basket. We were promised for it. We shall get it.
Want this?
Yes. No.
Guys?
And now I take you down.
Oh.
Do
Dude.
you want us to drop the platform?
Was that not implied?
Okay, hold on.
Dude, it looks so fucking cool. Oh, I hate this.
Here we go!
Prototype. Here's the old one, too.
You got this, Mac! Get him, Macaron!
Prototype.
Ah, not yet.
Here's the old one, too.
Here we go!
No problem, guys.
Okay. Any more?
What else you got?
It's
Oh.
time for Magma Mania. Turn it up.
All the soundtrack's really good. Yeah. Love it, dude. Ah!
Why not just...
Are you telling me how to do my job?
I'm just,
If you're so smart, then why don't you take care of him?
Oh wait.
I call the shots here. More babies.
Oh my god, the poor
Power
guy.
through it, little guy.
Oh god, oh god.
Peppermint!
Come on!
Here we go!
Oh god. got it. It's an A, not bad.
Mr. Chai has decimated his budget.
The lens chai!
The lens! Go get it!
Mind if I join in?
Let's finish this.
Hey, is the old one too.
Oh, look at him go.
I've wrecked everything you threw at me. Maybe you need a crash course in better design.
Ha! Well, while you've been
What
dealing
is this
with my
guy?
distractions, I've been working on a pet project.
Something with
unrestricted
Dude, this guy just
creative
poses.
freedom.
Oh.
A mixture of spectacle and quality.
I'm guessing this is a boss fight. This is the actual boss. Dude, the art. Do you see that?
Peppermint? How's that budget looking?
It's almost gone.
My masterpiece.
Dude, this guy's
Now
crazy.
everyone will see that I
Or
am.
maybe this is not about. Yeah, okay, there we go. No budget.
Defunded.
Don't just stand there. Finish him.
Oh, right.
This is all because of you.
Dude, that animation.
Enough talk. Now let's see what you have on Spectra.
Ooh.
Okay. Zanzo would have hit any information on Spectra. It's most likely in a password-protected database decrypted with a...
Here it is, right on the desktop.
Oh.
Okay, let's see. Spectra. Cognitive manipulation, regulation of mental stimuli. They plan for complete mind control, just like I thought.
Great!
No, bad! And Spectra seems to be approved for activation.
That certainly spells the end for Mr. Chai.
Can we shut it down now?
According to this, only with the passkeys of all the bosses.
Are you saying we still need...
There are 6 bosses and 6 passkeys. We've already taken down 2. We still need 4 bosses and 4 passkeys.
Then what are we waiting for? We gotta kick some ass. Cue the music.
4 more
The record
bosses.
stops
here. Oh, there's Gale.
We know all about Spectra, Kale. You're not getting away with it. No one is washing my brain.
Oh my god, this idiot.
But you're in my facility surrounded by security. And you. I thought we were done. Yet here you are.
Shall I take them in, sir?
Yes, of course I want you to take them in. Why else would I bring you?
Can we just one... Sorry, just take a second.
Huh?
You know that guy?
Can we do this later?
Sure, right, later. I think I know how we can escape. Really? Do you trust me?
Are we actually giving them a moment, sir?
Just follow me. All right, come and get me. Run!
Oh, let's go, dude.
What now?
I assume Mr. Chai did not think past this point.
You won't get back to the hideout.
We're not leaving you.
They can't get the passkeys. No time to argue. I'll distract them. You go down, I go up.
Get back in at least 2 pieces.
I didn't know you cared.
I want that defect. Get him!
Oh god, am I doing it right? What do you mean lasers?
Unity, report.
Oh, we have to fight again. Where's the small guy? Ooh, okay, we got this.
Charge up the electrified wall. Close in on it.
Oh my god.
This is where you run away, Mr. Chai.
That's the plan!
May need some help here. Here we go.
Let me out there.
Oh shit, please, please. Ah, dude, I'm not good at that. No way, no way. Continue, continue. Okay, okay, we got this, we got this, we got this.
Charge up the electrified wall. Close in on it.
Ah.
This is where you run away, Mr. Chai.
May need some help here.
Ready for this?
Please, please.
Gotta roll up my sleeves.
Dude, I only have one time to do that. Okay, hold on. I got this, don't worry. I'm gonna keep trying.
Charge up the electrified wall. Close in on it.
Oh my god, this is my, like, third attempt.
This is where you run away, Mr. Chai.
May need some help here. Get him, Macaron.
Cole?
Hold on. Oh.
Your turn.
Need help?
Oh my god, there's a lot. Where am I supposed to go?
Hold on to men. Get him.
Working on a way out. Keep fighting.
Oh god, this is not ideal.
Chai, get out of there!
Oh. Okay, there we go.
Broken rails ahead.
Get that magnet ready.
Intercept the target.
Oh god, this is so intense. Alright, we got this. Kitty.
Uh-oh.
Oh. Oh god. There's some lasers over there.
No let him escape the facility.
I'm escaping, lady. Sorry about that. No time for getting to know each other. Maybe another time. Ooh, we're at the
Rockstar
entrance.
move, Chai.
Oh shit.
Don't try to run from us.
Stealing my technology and then calling yourself a rock star? For doing what, exactly?
Taking you down.
Is that what this looks like to you? 'Cause no, you don't have what it takes, kid. Only 1 out of 4, Corsica. It's not a passing grade.
Yeah, Corsica. What's up with
He
that?
knows where the others are. I'll get him to talk.
When you're done, send them to me. I'll personally throw them in the furnace.
No. He's kidnapped. Also, you know, the main, what's his name, villain, the guy, I gotta be, you guys can see it. The guy reminds me of that one guy from Borderlands. What's his name? Handsome Jack? Kinda. I can kinda see it.
Well, I'm glad this is all finally over.
Are you ready for another misadventure, Chai?
Huh? Wait, what?
Mr. Chai, you really...
What?
Mr. Chai, that was quite an amazing performance.
So, what's it now?
Instead of brashly acting out based off you are surely an...
Rated E for...
Wait, what? Why am I here?
Hey, Chai.
It has
Chai,
similar
so great
mannerisms.
to
Yeah,
see
that's
you.
what I'm saying.
And you were the star of... Where do you come up with...
I wish I could tell you, but...
That makes... Well, look. Take...
Okay, yeah, this is definitely a dream, isn't it?
So... when they make a movie about this, who's gonna play me? Or better yet, when they make a video game, who's gonna be my voice actor?
I wonder who.
Without you, it'd just be me without a robot cat.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the point. You know, how long have I been streaming already? I've been streaming for 2 hours. Wow. Time really flies when you're having fun. Haha, get it? Wow. Let's see. I'm checking the time and seeing if I should continue or not. I've been streaming for quite a while. I think I can stay up since I need to cook. One stage takes so long though, and I feel like this is like a good ending. A good place to end, is that's the correct one. It was a wild level. It was, honestly, it was really fun. I like it. I'm gonna be honest, it was pretty fun. Like, yeah, let's see if there's anyone I can raid. If not, then I might just like end the stream here. I believe Sanji is live, but I'm not quite sure if they're still live. Is it a good stopping point? But also one more stage. Yeah, I think I'm gonna end it here though, cause like, the thing is, I don't know where it's usually gonna like end. Like a stage or a level, I guess. Let's see. Sanji is live. Nat is live. Sean is a streamer, which is he's also pretty cool. It was really fun to watch. Have a good night, Pete. Thank you. Now I'm just thinking, who should I raid? I think I haven't raided Nat in a while, so let's go with that. Yeah. Have a good night. Thank you guys. I'm probably not gonna sleep just yet. If I'm gonna be honest, I will be. What do you call it? I'll probably cook some food and then sleep. Cook some food, eat, and then sleep. You know, because I'm still fasting. But yeah, thank you guys for stopping by. I'll be streaming again tomorrow, same time, around the same time. So yeah, be sure to tune in. I might be a little late, not quite sure, depending on me. But we'll see. I'll definitely let you guys know if that sure happens. But yeah, go say hi to Nat for me, you guys, and see you tomorrow.